Joel is a designer with an architectural background and a heavy graphic design interest. He's a designer at Gensler in Austin, Texas, working in the sports studio with his main focus being on fan experience and seating bowl design. Now with LAFC defining a team, here's Joel.
Hi, yeah. Nothing like specializing in two things that we can't experience right now, right? So yeah, I'll take you through the Los Angeles Football Club and Banc of California Stadium. I'm going to take you all the way through from competition, some process, and then show some final imagery. The competition was a really different process. We had a month to prepare for an interview, but then 2 weeks later, we had a second interview, and then there were the final kind of follow-up meetings that kind of spontaneously happen oftentimes in competitions. So the final follow-up meeting coincided with our office all staff. So at the meeting, when it ended, we decided to bring everyone out, the client out to see the all staff, and this is what happened here on the next slide here. So it's probably a little bit of a gamble to bring a client out and then have 500 people chanting their name, but I think it paid off quite well. It was really unique and it was pretty great. But like I said, this was a very unique competition. So we wanted to take advantage of the schedule as much as possible. So with a month to prepare and then 2 interviews for this, we wanted to, instead of show an 80-page slide deck and presentation that's all about ourselves and previous work that we've done, and try to come up with a design that's more or less, throwing darts at a dartboard and trying to guess what they want. We decided to just treat them like a client, and that this would be a design competition that we would just do charrettes, and we would try to really understand what they meant when they said iconic. It's always kind of that classic word that a client will say in an RFP, but you have no idea what you really mean by iconic. So these are 7 boards that are 4 foot by 8 foot tall. We spent the whole month curating images to really understand and get to know them and what they wanted in their RFP. We have some images here from the initial interview, and you can see these boards take up the entire conference room. We actually got a little lucky. We didn't measure how big the elevator was to get to this floor, and the boards fit by about 1.5 inches. So you can see that we curated everything here. It's just so many different images. On the bottom right, that's actually kind of a live meeting notes that someone in our office kind of takes, and then they can give it to the client, and we can use it to help inform our design. And then in the 2 weeks, we used all the information that we gathered in this meeting that was really interactive. We encouraged them to get up, look at images, talk to us. It wasn't a presentation, it was a conversation. And we were able to then massage these boards and really change and update their content to reflect what we learned in that first meeting and to present an informed design in that second meeting. Go to the next here. So once we were awarded the project, we wanted to continue that interactive and collaborative process. But unfortunately, LAFC was an expansion team at this point. There was no history. They had never played before. They didn't even have any players. So all the usual assets that we use to help really understand a team and to develop a stadium, we didn't have. But what we did have was fans. So we brought those fans into our office, and we had several design charrettes with them. If you get ESPN Plus, you can actually watch the documentary on their first season, and these design charrettes are featured in, I think, episode 5. So here's some meetings. Here's some of those images from some of these things. In the top right, you can see that the owners are presenting the design to their fans in our space. In the bottom right, that is an unveiling of their logo. And we had these events that ownership and the designers and fans were together, and we knew each other. We posed with each other for pictures. And I love the image on the left because you don't often see a guy with that many tattoos and wearing no sleeves meeting with your design principal and having fun too. Go to the next here. All these meetings and what came out of it were 6 pretty strong priorities. We wanted it to be participants, not spectators, to create a distinct home field advantage, to establish some brand, to really become iconic and cultural in Los Angeles. When we talk about participants and not spectators, most of the time focus is on the field and the players and the game itself, but we really wanted this stadium to be not only about that, but also about the fans and how they could really interact and be a part of the game. So we looked at some precedents, and you can see here on this next slide, the Borussia Dortmund it was one of our presidents. They had what's known as the yellow wall. They're really well known for being fans that are very much a part of the game, that can influence results and are very passionate. On the next here is our concept rendering that we used in one of those interviews. We really wanted to create an intimidating and powerful environment. We didn't want to feel like you were trying to score on one goalkeeper, but you were trying to score on 3,500 people simultaneously. We did that in a variety of ways. We brought the fans very close to the field. We have as steep of a seating section as is legally allowed by code. We try to take all the crowd noise and bounce it and reflect it back onto the field. And also, I should point out, these aren't actual seats. They're standing rail seats. So everyone just stands at a 42-inch rail and is up and alive and a part of the action for the entire game.
Hey, Chelsea, we're going to start a little bit earlier, I think.
So when I talk about, close to the field, we looked at EPL, the English Premier League, and MLS precedents, and you can see here we are so close to the field. It's about 11 to 12 feet from the field. This is the closest seats in MLS, and I believe it will stay that way, as the MLS has kind of said no one can go closer than this. Obviously, a big part of your experience at a game is your seat, right? And that top bar graph really shows kind of the historical, typical, general admission seats, some club seats, and some suites. We really want to diversify and create an experience for everyone. So we have a much broader spectrum. You can simply get into the game and have no seat and just be standing and watching and trying to find a place to be a part of the action, all the way to a huge variety and diversity of premium seats. And this is one of my favorite premium seats. I don't think it exists anywhere really in sports except for maybe basketball with courtside seats, but this front row is on the field. You're not really supposed to, but everyone kind of goes out onto the grass there, and you're within 10 feet of the sideline with no barrier between you and your seat. This is the same tunnel that the players enter the field from. This is also how, if you're in the field club seats, which are right behind the seats I just showed, this is how you access your seat. So there's nothing more dynamic and dramatic than to watch the players enter the field through this tunnel and then go follow that tunnel yourself to walk up to your seats, entering right at center pitch. It's pretty great. This is images from that club, and even though it's underneath the seating bowl, you don't really have a view out in any direction. It's it's still pretty bright, and it's light, and it's very warm and inviting. And this is one of the most popular clubs in the entire building. I mentioned how the supporters are a big part of the experience and a big part of the home field advantage, but they're also a big part of the brand. The 3252, as they're called, named for the number of seats in the section, are very much a defining aspect of the team. It's a defining aspect of the stadium. You can't really think of an LAFC game or watch one of their games without hearing them and being influenced by them. And at the other end of the spectrum is ownership. Ownership has some pretty famous members, including Magic Johnson and Mia Hamm, Will Ferrell. And so they're very visible, and we made them that way in the seating bowl. This is about 60 seats or 80 seats right there at center pitch, right in the middle of the seating bowl. You can actually sit with them. It's a fairly expensive ticket, but they're very much a part of the crowd and a part of the action. Looking at some of these clubs, we wanted to create a diversity of experiences, but at the same time, we wanted everything to feel very Los Angeles. And so, this club is one of the primary clubs. It wanted to give a beach, kind of a light and airy feel. It's relaxed, but it's still very refined. And when you go to the other side of the field, is the Figaro Club. This is a little bit grittier. It's got polished concrete floors. It's got graffiti on the walls and roll-up garage doors and numerous beers on tap. And this has got the feel of a rooftop bar. It's the Sunset Terrace. It's the highest point in the stadium for occupiable spaces. It's got a pool deck out there, and if you go to the next one here, it's got some of the best views of the stadium and the best views of the game, but it's also used after the game, every game, as a post-party location. And so people from the rest of the stadium can come up here even if they didn't have a ticket to sit in this location. Looking at this drone shot from a game during their first season, you can see its proximity to Los Angeles. It's right in the heart of the city. It's right next to the LA Coliseum and USC and Science Center. It's very much a part of the fabric and a part of the city. And there's a quote from Michelle Beadle, who's a pretty prominent sports personality. And when with the experience that she has with sports, and when she feels like it's a unique experience and something she wants to be a part of, it's pretty special. And then we have a video here, and this video shows what it's like attending a game, and you can see it's a pretty short video. There's two things I really like about that video, and one of which is that that's not just they do that chant once a game, or that once a game they get really excited. They do that for the entire game. They are that energetic and that amped up every game, all game long. And then the other piece of it is I think those social media posts at the end, to me, really make me feel like we accomplished our goal of making the spectators a part of the action. The game was going on, and still fans are videoing the supporters and not just what's happening in the game. So whenever we're allowed to go back to sporting events and you find yourself in Los Angeles, I would or just you see them on TV, I would encourage you to watch the game, and it's a really unique and amazing experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. That was fascinating, to say the least. To see that you pushed the limits to create a guideline of how close you could actually get people to the game. Like you're on the edge, and that's pretty fun.
Yeah, MLS made a few rules specific for us.
See, you're doing something when they have to create new rules around what you've done. So thank you for that, Joel.